All right. Hello, friends. My name is Ted Livermore. I am here with my good friend Natalia Kay, and today we are going to talk about William Proxmire, senator from the great state of Wisconsin.
It looks like a bad Mr. Rogers looking at me right now.
Why is it a bad Mr. Rogers?
He just like looks devious. Like he's got like a mischievous glint in his eye. Like, ooh, I've had extra cheese curd or something. I don't know. I'm making bad Wisconsin references.
Wow. All right.
Yeah. Go
So
on. Go for yeah.
I wanted to talk about William Proxmire today because it's February 2021, and Donald Trump has just been acquitted in his second impeachment trial. And I found that recently national politicians of all stripes seem to be more concerned with optics and power and reelection than they do about their principles. And so Bill Proxmire here just caught my eye for that reason. So let's just quickly talk about his early life. He was born November 11th, 1915 in Lake Forest, Illinois. Natalia is a Chicago resident.
Oh man, this guy is just already I'm just like I can just smell the douche coming on. Like Lake Forest, Illinois, and then he winds up being a senator from Wisconsin. All right.
Lake Forest, for those of you who don't know, is a relatively wealthy, extremely wealthy suburb of Chicago. So he's born in 1915, son of Dr. Theodore Proxmire.
Of course he is. Of course he is. What? And his mother's like a DAR member, right? Or like runs like some kind of charity. Like okay.
Theodore Proxmire is a prominent physician and conservative Republican. So this will probably not be a surprise, but Proxmire then attended the Hill School, which is a boarding school in Pennsylvania. He got his BA from Yale University and his MBA from Harvard University.
God.
Before he gets a job at JP Morgan.
I stand by my devious Mr. Rogers comment. I stand by it.
During World War II, instead of going overseas to fight, he serves in the military intelligence in Chicago, focusing on rooting out, quote, subversive activity. He is evidently very good at this because he rises from private to a rank of first lieutenant during his time in the Army. After the war, Proxmire returns to Harvard and gets a second master's degree in public administration. Then in 1949, Proxmire moves to Madison, Wisconsin to work for the Capital Times, a newspaper, with an eye towards getting into politics.
And this is couldn't hack it in Illinois. Is that why?
I honestly don't know why Wisconsin. I don't. He just seemed to pick it.
Like cows and beer?
Cows and beer. We're going to talk about cows in a little bit.
Oh gosh, okay.
This is where it starts to take actually a little bit of a left turn. So his beat on the newspaper, he also worked for several radio stations, and he's very focused on the local labor movement. A year into his time in Wisconsin, he actually gets fired from his newspaper job because he refuses to run a story about a female labor organizer who was found in a man's hotel room. Proxmire thought that the organizer had been framed. Then the rival newspaper to the Capital Times runs the story across the front page, and Proxmire's editor fires him for refusing to run the story and letting a competitor get it.
Wait, so why does he think this woman is, so the female, he thinks the female labor organizer is framed?
Yeah, basically that she got like lured into a hotel room to make it look like, you know, she was there to have an affair.
Okay. I'm like, a part of me is like, that's not that weird. Like, I don't know.
This is 1949.
Oh, that's right. My bad. Sorry. Yeah. We can't mix and interact if there's not, you know, rings on our finger, or we're not being escorted. I forget. That was
exactly. Yeah. Don't forget about mother.
Chaperones, right?
Okay, so now it's 1950. He's out of a job. Okay, he gets fired from the newspaper, and he wanted to get into politics anyways. So he runs as a Democrat and wins a seat in the Wisconsin State
Oh, I
Assembly.
bet Dad's not happy if he's a conservative Republican in prominent
Yeah,
position.
it is interesting. He runs as a Democrat. And he wins the seat by, he says, quote, going to every farm, every house, I'd knock on the door and ask them to sign my nominating petitions. Then I'd send a little handwritten note recalling part of the conversation. Then, a week before the primary, I'd drop them another note reminding them to vote. And 2 days before the election, my wife and I made several thousand phone calls.
I mean, he must have a lot of stamps. That's like, this is before Costco. Like, where did he get all the stamps from? Like, how often was he going to the post office? Did he just like buy out a post office's stamp supply?
Well, he saved money because it was reported that during the campaign, Proxmire lived in YMCA's and $4 a night hotel rooms and washed his own underclothes.
I mean, gentleman and a scholar, I guess. All right.
So he spends 2 years in the Wisconsin State Assembly, and he decides not to run for re-election after his first term. Instead, he decides, you know what? Bigger and better things for me. So at this point, he's lived in Wisconsin for 3 whole years. So what do? Perfect time to run for governor. So in 1952, Proxmire runs for governor of Wisconsin, and he loses to the incumbent governor by 25 points. And he wins only 2 of Wisconsin's 72 counties.
Oh man, was that Milwaukee County? Yeah, that's Milwaukee. And then what? Random upstate.
I don't know. But he is undeterred, Natalia. He's undeterred because in 1954, he runs for governor again. And he loses again.
No, but he's got more counties this time.
He did, but he loses to the same guy he lost to the first time. Yeah. For some reason, Wisconsin only has 2-year terms for governor, because then in 1956, there's another election. And so what does William Proxmire do? He runs for governor of Wisconsin, and he loses a third time.
Wait, no, Wisconsin doesn't have 2-year terms. I lived in Wisconsin.
Maybe they changed it, but back then, this man ran for governor every 2 years like clockwork, and like clockwork, he lost.
Okay.
Hey, did I mention that Proxmire was married to Elise Stillman Rockefeller, the great granddaughter of William Rockefeller, who was brother and business partner of John D. Rockefeller?
No, you did not mention that, but
Oh.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't mention that. Okay, so then I didn't mention that in 1955, between his second and third run for governor, Elise filed for divorce.
I mean, piss off a Rockefeller, I guess that's what you do.
Well, it probably had nothing to do with the YMCA's and, washing his own undergarments.
Was he having illicit affairs at the Y? Is that what you're getting at?
No, but just like, hey, honey, you know what? You know what I decided today? And I'm going to do? I'm going to run for governor of Wisconsin.
And she's
but
like,
this time's going to be different, not like the first 2 times.
Okay.
So crazy side note about that. So Elise files for divorce in 1955. In that same year, she remarries. She marries Miles McMillan, who was the editor that fired Proxmire at the Capital Times.
What? That's a stake to a man's heart.
Well,
no, he didn't try to murder him, did he? Is that what you're getting with this?
Karma might have had something to do with this, because then in 1982, Miles McMillan, who she married, was diagnosed with bone cancer, and he reacted by going home, shooting Elise in the head, and then killing himself.
Because he gets cancer, so he's like, I'm gonna kill my wife first because I have cancer.
I don't know. Anyways, I put that in parentheses. I wasn't sure if I wanted to say that, but that's what happened.
I'm fascinated by this, but okay.
All right, so now it's 1957. Proxmire is a 3-time loser in statewide elections when a sitting US senator from Wisconsin dies unexpectedly at the age of 48. That senator, one Joseph McCarthy.
Oh man.
So McCarthy's official cause of death, by the way, was hepatitis, which back then was code word for alcoholism.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
he drank himself to death.
Time sip of beer right there.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm gonna get to rooting out communists as soon as we're done with this.
Okay.
So a special election is held to fill McCarthy's last year and a half in office. And Proxmire, again, he's done so well in statewide elections, he decides to run. So he runs as a Democrat, and he's facing off against the same guy that he lost to in both 1952 and 1954 in the gubernatorial elections.
Okay.
So because it's a special election, and at the time the Senate was super duper close between Republicans and Democrats, so there's a ton of focus on this campaign nationally. So during the campaign, Richard Nixon, who is then Dwight Eisenhower's vice president, goes to Wisconsin to stump for Proxmire's Republican opponent. And he castigates Proxmire as a loser for his several unsuccessful gubernatorial campaigns. Proxmire responds by saying, quote, "Let my opponent have the support of the man who has never proposed to a girl and lost. I'll take the losers. He can have the support of the man who never owed a note he couldn't pay. I'll take the debtors. If all those who have ever lost in business, love, sports, or politics will vote for me as one who knows what it is to lose and fight back, I will be glad to give my opponent the support of those lucky voters who have never lost anything."
Oh man. A saucy little fella.
Oh, it's the losers. If you're a loser, come here. Come here. I got you. But it works. Proxmire wins McCarthy's seat 56 to 41%, and he becomes senator of Wisconsin.
All right.
In 1957.
I mean, 5th time's charm, right?
So Proxmire starts his Senate career in August of 1957, but he just filled the seat of a sitting senator who passed away, and so the custom was, to like honor or pay tribute to that senator. But the senator was also Joseph McCarthy. So instead, Proxmire calls McCarthy a, quote, "disgrace to Wisconsin, to the Senate, and to America." Yeah. So Proxmire's first vote in the Senate comes on August 28th, 1957, which is one day after the special election. So he gets elected the next day. They're like, "Hey man, you got to vote." And the reason is this vote follows Strom Thurmond's 24-hour and 18-minute filibuster of the 1957 Civil Rights Act.
Oh man. Okay.
And they need Proxmire's vote because he is the tie-breaking vote for this. So Proxmire votes in favor, and the 1957 Civil Rights Act is passed.
Okay.
This is his first vote in the Senate.
It's a big, fuck you to Strom Thurmond over there.
Yes. Not done with fuck yous. In January 1958, Proxmire attends his first caucus meeting of Senate Democrats. Now, Lyndon Johnson, shown here when he's president, at the time in 1958, he is Senate Majority Leader of the Democrats. And so they get together for this caucus meeting, and Johnson reads a prepared speech that lasts 2.5 minutes, and then the meeting is adjourned. The next time there's a caucus meeting is a full year later in January.
Wait, why is Crispin Glover there too?
Who's Crispin Glover?
The guy from the creepy guy from you don't know who Crispin Glover is?
Should I?
He's like he's a creepy looking actor, and I'm like, it looks just like him over here on the right. I'm just like, what is that doppelganger doing over there? Anyways, I'm done. If you don't know the reference, it's fine. Continue on.
So, this is Proxmire's first caucus meeting, but he sees that Johnson just gives a 2.5 minute speech, like no questions, nothing like that. And he's like, wait, shouldn't we all get to like speak and like share our opinion and like talk about priorities? But Johnson, he's uniquely powerful at the time. He's basically an unquestioned authority to both handle legislative priorities, decide what they're going to vote on,
Yeah.
and deal with the Eisenhower administration.
Do you know that Johnson was also a huge pervert? LBJ. Like, yeah, he would just like whip out his dick and just be like, and make comments about how big it was. he called it like, it's the biggest Johnson you've ever seen, right? And like,
Johnson,
literally,
my Johnson.
yeah. He was a big creep, and he would just like piss on whenever he wanted. Like he would just walk around the White House grounds and just piss, and just whip it out in the middle of conversations and pee.
Hey, listen, it was a different time. Okay, it's a different time. Okay, so Proxmire pissed about this. He doesn't think this is right. So the next day, after the Cox meeting, he gets up on the Senate floor and he gives a speech to, quote, end one-man rule in the Senate to win dignity and full representation for all Democratic senators to win democracy. There has never been a time when power has been so sharply concentrated as it is today in the Senate. The speech was dubbed, quote, Proxmire's farewell address because of the power of the man he was attacking.
Oh, shit.
So no other Senate Democrats publicly support Proxmire, but privately they're all like, yeah, man, like you're right. Like, fight the good fight.
That's such a wimpy thing to do. Like privately tell him they stand with him, but then publicly be like, ooh.
Yeah, it's kind of wimpy. It's also kind of wimpy to be like, oh no, I'm gonna vote to acquit, and then 5 minutes later I'm gonna be like, yeah, that person was totally guilty of inciting an insurrection.
Yeah.
So one thing that Proxmire is not is wimpy. So he keeps going at this, and while it takes over a decade, it does slowly transform the way that Senate Democrats work to give more power to the rank and file, have more regular caucus meetings, and basically come up with a decision-making process that we see today. So not perfect, but better than one-man rule. So he's positioned himself as a maverick in the Senate. He also takes that attitude to life outside the Senate. So from the New York Times, quote, he comes out of the early morning mist, a solitary figure running as if his life depended on it. He has done his 100 push-ups and 200 sit-ups and bounds out of his red brick home in Northwest Washington for the 4.9-mile run to his office. Sometimes he is met at his door by one of the more enterprising lobbyists who tries to keep pace with him, pleading his case as the senator runs down Connecticut Avenue, runs across DuPont Circle, and down Massachusetts Avenue. No lobbyist, however, has yet proved a match for the physical condition of this lean, taut, 62-year-old man. It is only a matter of time before the exhausted lobbyist falls by the wayside, a victim of too many leisurely lunches at the Sans Souci.
What?
For Bill Proxmire, the senior senator from Wisconsin, it is the same regime, rain or shine. In the humid heat of a Washington summer or the unpredictable snows of winter, he makes no allowances for the weather any more than he takes notice of the spontaneous, unexpected intrusions and delights that lead others to change their plans.
He really is from Wisconsin. He does not give a fuck about the weather.
True.
Like I've done tailgating in some questionable weather events, and I thought that was like pushing it, but this is okay.
The senator arrives at the Capitol at 8:15, showers, washes his own underclothes in the office sink.
He just really likes washing his clothes. Okay.
Puts on a Robert Hall $55 business suit and has a breakfast of half a grapefruit, sprouted wheat bread and sardines, and a glass of skim milk.
That's disgusting. The skim milk is the most disgusting part of that entire thing.
With the sardines?
Why? He's also from Wisconsin. Why is he drinking skim milk?
That's a good point.
Like,
so yeah, so this dude runs 5 miles to work every day, then washes his underwear in the sink at his office, and then eats grapefruit and sardines. I fucking love it. I love every second of it. So socially, he's equally thrilling. So again, from the New York Times, quote, Guests in their home tell of being invited to dinner and being entertained by Ellen Proxmire, who's his second wife, until mealtime, when the senator makes his entrance, and then watching the senator retire after the meal and before the after dinner drinks.
So he would just like show up for dinner
Just
and then
eat and go.
he goes back upstairs. What a cantankerous old man.
He's also a sociopath. So like he only cares about his work, and like that's why he's not gonna like sit around and have drinks because he wants to go back to work. Like he's so sociopathic about his work that in 1958, him and Ellen, they give birth to their first child, William Wayne Proxmire. This is still early in Proxmire's first term. William Wayne died one day after being born.
Oh.
And then 1 to 3 days after that, depending on who you ask, Proxmire leaves Ellen in Wisconsin and flies back to Washington to go back to work.
Ooh, that's not good. How did Ellen feel about that one?
I think Ellen probably wasn't happy. I did read at one point they did separate because she was like, I'm sick of your shit. And then I think she was kind of just like, well, all right, I guess I'm not going to do any better at this point. But yeah, it makes you feel a little bit more sympathy for Elise, banging the editor. So, he's peculiar, and this catches the eye of the press to the point that they're so fascinated by this guy that they're really tracking him to the point that in another New York Times profile, quote, "It is a life that has included a hair transplant, the first in the history of the United States Senate, a facelift, and vacations spent hauling garbage and living in firehouses."
Wait, okay, I need to unpack this. He so in his spare time, he gets plastic surgery and hangs out in fire stations.
Yep.
And takes out the garbage.
Yep.
How do you stay in a firehouse? Like, did he just like walk up to like the fire department and he's just like, hey, can I stay here? I'll take out your garbage. Like, what is happening?
It's just so weird for a dude who's like, yeah, I stay in like $4 a night hotel rooms and I run to work and eat sardines, but then he's like, but I need hair plugs.
And a facelift, yeah.
Yeah. So strange. And then what I think is also strange is that like you can actually see the imprints here, because every image that I looked for, like these are like super sought after images. Like the press was obsessed with the fact that he was the first senator to get hair transplant. And it turns out like this is a random hobby of the Washington press, because they were keeping track. As it turns out, the second senator recorded getting a hair transplant, one Joseph Biden in 1988.
Did he? Oh, I didn't. Huh.
Yeah. So they were keeping track of that.
Why are they obsessed with what guys do with their hair?
I don't know. I frankly, I think that I wish that the press would put a little bit more scrutiny on women's appearances.
I know they really don't do enough.
All right. So now, Natalia, let's talk about genocide.
Oh, I knew this is where we were going.
So in 1948, following the Second World War, the UN General Assembly unanimously adopts the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. The treaty then goes to each member country to be ratified. President Harry Truman quickly submits the treaty to the Senate. The Senate is, of course, the body that ratifies all treaties on behalf of the United States. Truman calls for its swift ratification, saying, quote, "We have established before the world our first and clear policy towards the crime of genocide. The convention's approval by the United States would demonstrate to the world the establishment of principles of law and justice."
Okay, so I'm guessing that Proxmire is not a fan of this treaty.
Well, this is 1948.
Oh, he's not in office yet. Okay, right.
This is 1948. So it gets sent to the Senate to vote on, to ratify, saying genocide is bad. Instead, the treaty never makes it out of the Foreign Relations Committee to even receive a vote on the Senate floor. Yep. And I'll tell you why. It included some crazy provisions, such as a provision to make genocide an international crime, to outlaw human slavery, and to guarantee the political rights of women. Mm-hmm.
Those are like three things this country has never been good at.
Well, I think that that's probably why they didn't want to vote on it. You know,
Yeah.
might open ourselves up to, what's the statute of limitations on, genociding all the
Genocide,
people who were
slavery,
here.
and
Yeah, that's, I think, kind of the problem. But anyways, that's 1948. In 1967, treaty had still not gotten a vote on the Senate floor.
mm-hmm.
And that is when Proxmire comes along. On January 11th, 1967, Proxmire gets on the Senate floor and declares, quote, "I serve notice today that I intend to speak day after day in this body to remind the Senate of our failure to act and the necessity for prompt action on the genocide treaty." So indeed, every day the Senate's in session, Proxmire gives a speech urging the ratification of the treaty. He later admitted that he thought it would take a year or two to get it done. Well, 3,211 speeches later, the treaty is finally ratified by a vote of 83-11 on February 19th, 1986, more than 19 years after Proxmire gives his first speech.
Wow.
And a full 38 years after the UN adopted the treaty.
That is a very stubborn Senate, that they're like, we're going to continue letting this guy just make these daily speeches and not make a very clear, easy. This is like a win vote. There's like, I don't know. It's like I'm very perplexed.
Natalia, the vote was 83-11. 11 people voted against it, and 6 couldn't be bothered to show up to vote for it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We're heroes. We're heroes. And then they had to vote again for some reason. I found the exact record. So then you'll see a lot of times when you look this up, the vote was 93-1.
Uh-huh.
But it's kind of bullshit because it was 83-11. But that one vote against in the 93-1 was Barry Goldwater, which is just so fantastic. All right. So then the Golden Fleece. So Proxmire hated government waste. He didn't necessarily have a problem with spending. He was a Democrat, remember? But
Mm-hmm.
he thought that politicians were drunk on the ability to spend other people's money. So he hated that, but what he loved was causing a scene. So in 1975, there's a hearing.
Like you have to cause a scene when you're hopped up on grapefruit and sardines.
Yeah, guys, I'm washing my underwear in the sink over here. So in 1975, a Pentagon official testifies about the $2 billion budget overruns of the Air Force's development of the C-5A aircraft. The Pentagon officials testifying under oath, but is fired by the Pentagon for revealing this information. So Proxmire pounces on this. Shortly after, he releases his first Golden Fleece Award, which is dedicated to, quote, "the biggest, most ridiculous or ironic example of government spending." He would go on to award the Golden Fleece monthly to things like, in October 1975, the Golden Fleece was given to the National Institute of Alcohol Abuse for a $10,900 study to find out if drunk fish are more aggressive than sober fish. January 1977, the Department of Agriculture for a $46,000 study that found that it takes 838 TMUs, or time measurement units, each equal to 0.036 seconds, to fry 2 eggs in a skillet. After receiving the Golden Fleece Award, the agency gave up plans for similar studies on lunch and dinner.
Oh my God.
February 1977, the Law Enforcement Assistance Administration for a $27,000 study to, quote, determine why inmates want to escape from prison. This study is a crime.
Wait, hold on. Wait, there was a study of why people want to escape prison. Our tax dollars went to why people want to escape prison.
$27,000 of them, yeah.
Oh my God. I want to go on like eBay and be like, can I find one of these like awards?
Oh,
Like,
I have the whole list. I
well,
found
there's
the
like
entire
like
list.
like I'm assuming like some like legislative aid had to like Xerox and put together this award. Like, I want to know what happened to the award. I want one. I want the prison one. I really want the prison one in my house.
So Proxmire says this study is a crime.
Oh God.
It should be obvious to one and all why someone in jail wants to get out. Fair enough. March, the next month, March 1977, a special award of merit. So this is a good one. This is a positive one.
Okay.
Award of merit to Veterans Administration Director Max Cleland, who, notwithstanding the fact that he is a triple amputee, is driving himself to and from work in his own car, saving taxpayers $16,000 per year.
Good for him. I don't know what to say to that. Like,
they found this guy was like, he's missing both arms and a leg, or both legs and an arm. Hooray!
A part of me is just like, maybe I want this guy being driven around. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like if he's lost like limbs after serving, he should be chauffeured around.
August 1977, the Department of Transportation, for a $225,000 report, which forecast transportation needs in the year 2025 under 4 separate, quote, science fiction scenarios, where the US either undergoes an ice age, becomes a dictatorship.
Oh, and they weren't that far off. All right.
Is transformed into hippie culture, or becomes a society the authors term the American dream.
What was the American dream?
I have no idea, but they were so goddamn close with the ice age and the dictatorship. It's really sad.
I was just watching Blade Runner today, and I was like, is that what they thought like the 2020s would look like? Just flying cars everywhere.
Here we are.
Yeah.
In April 1978, the National Institute of Mental Health for a $97,000 study titled "The Peruvian Brothel, a Sexual Dispensary and Social Arena." Yep.
I feel like there were just some bureaucrats that were like, I really want to go to Peru and go to a brothel there. Like that, I need to like justify this trip.
The one where they spent tens of thousands of dollars measuring flight attendants' bust, waist, and hip sizes for a quote unquote safety study did not make the cut for this. But yeah, a lot of horny dudes, it turns out, doing studies for the federal government.
Oh my God.
All right. December 19.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to imagine like a Pan Am like stewardess or flight attendant, and like up comes like some dopey like GS10 like level guy, just like gotta measure your boobs.
They had to throw the entire study out because it turns out that the average flight attendant proportions are not relevant to the average American proportions. Okay, this one might be my favorite. In December 1981, the Department of Defense, for a 6-year study in which a bull was tested for the biological effects of a submarine communications device, a study later found completely useless by Navy officials. Long subject to local rumors, the story of, quote, Sylvester the Bull was recently confirmed in official Navy correspondence.
Wait, I'm sorry. I need this explained to me. So they put a
So,
bull, like a bull in a submarine? Like,
no, I think that there was just a bull. Like, I don't know. The local rumors, I couldn't find where it was, but I think there was just a bull, maybe in Wisconsin, and they were just like pinging this bull with sonar to see if it like mutated. I don't know why.
I oh my, like like this needs to be a movie. Like a movie needs to be made about this cow and what it went through.
Sylvester the Bull. Okay, all right, we have to keep going. March 1984, the U.S. Forest Service, for attempting to combine 4 helicopters and a blimp into one flying machine designed to lift logs from national forests. The project was 4 years behind schedule and cost $40 million when it was awarded the Golden Fleece.
Oh my God.
Uh, it's just like okay, we're like, okay, like blimps, we probably shouldn't fill them with flammable gas. But you know what we should do is have a bunch of really sharp rotating blades near them.
Oh my God.
So anyways, the Golden Fleece, it works. It embarrasses these agencies. Well, it kind of works because it embarrasses these agencies so much that instead of stopping to do the studies, they just start giving them less ridiculous names in order to hide them when
Okay.
somebody goes looking for them. Oh, goddamn, the Golden Fleece. Okay. All right. So Proxmire's willingness to push back on Democratic leadership, like he did with Johnson, unprincipled political calculations, like with the Genocide Treaty, and hatred of government waste, it makes him hugely popular in Wisconsin. So all the while he's even attacking his Senate colleagues for pay increases and the perks of office they're taking advantage of, he's becoming more and more popular in Wisconsin. He wins 5 terms in Wisconsin, and towards the later portions of it, by the 1970s, campaign spending really starts taking off.
Yeah.
But in his 1976 re-election campaign, Proxmire spent $177.73 on his campaign. All of it spent on filing fees for the paperwork or on stamps to mail back unsolicited donations.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so he wins by 45 points. And that same year, Jimmy Carter wins Wisconsin by just 2 points.
Oh, that's a huge margin.
Yeah.
It's a wipeout. All right.
He bought no advertisements, printed no brochures. When he ran in 1982, he spent even less. He was also so dedicated to his job, nicknamed the Bulldog of the Senate, that he sent a record for consecutive votes without missing one. His last vote in the Senate was his 10,252nd consecutive roll call vote, surpassing the previous record of just over 2,000 straight votes.
So he like beat the record and he was like, I'm just gonna demolish this.
Yeah, so he demolishes it. It's a voting record that still stands today.
Wow.
He also wrote several books during his time in the Senate, ranging from screeds about government waste to advocating for the health benefits of a sardine and underwear washing routine.
Okay.
Yeah. So despite his sociopathic commitment to his job, like the time he left his wife a day after their newborn son died, he did seem to have a great deal of empathy for people. On one of his jogs home at night from the Senate, he was mugged by 2 teenagers. So he fights with them, no surprise. They're arrested shortly thereafter. Proxmire attended the first court arraignment for the teenagers, and he talks with their family, and he ends up giving both of them a job in his office after school. One time when asked by Georgetown students what he considered important in life, Proxmire answered, "The most important thing in life is the capacity to feel affection and love for your fellow man and be willing to do things to help him." Proxmire retired from the Senate at the end of his term in 1989, saying, "I am, quote, 71 years old. I'll be 73 when I took office for another term. I'd be almost 80 years old when I retired. That's too old.
Good for him.
Yeah, another thing that maybe some of our current politicians could learn from him. The bulldog of the Senate, hater of genocide, and giver of the Golden Fleece died on December 15th, 2005 in Sykesville, Maryland. The law enshrining the UN's treaty against genocide in the United States is subtitled the Proxmire Act in official Senate documents today.
I feel really bad about calling him a douche now.
Oh, no. I mean, he was born in Lake Forest and went to Yale and Harvard. I mean, no, he was, listen, I mean, this was not a rags to riches story.
Yeah, he was like geared towards success, but.
Right. And, he didn't treat his wives particularly well. I mean, everybody's flawed. But, he wasn't in this game, for power or just for re-election. So yeah, that's William Proxmire.
Interesting.
Any last thoughts?
I still can't get over the sardines. I know like there's lots of good, healthy fats, like what are the whatever, the omega-3 oils or whatever it is that you're supposed to get. Like, no wonder he was just like jogging all the time. Like, he was a well-oiled machine.
All right, kids, eat your sardines, wash your underwear. Thanks a lot.